Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the FYSB update session. Hopefully everybody made it well through the last session yesterday. You know, we all used to this pandemic, so we had this remote life where we can go back after 1 or 2 days back to home. But today we are back to back, and it was a long day yesterday. So I hope everybody's doing well. This mic is low, okay, Bob. Yeah, I'm just testing. Can you hear me now? You guys are trying to make me work this morning. Well, good morning. My name is Captain Corey Palmer, and I'll be joined today with my colleagues, Katie Derrick, Megan Hill, and Owen Burns. We'll be part of the team that will provide you with the updates. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge the typhoon that's going on in Guam. You know, our thoughts and prayers are with that situation, hoping that everything will go well. With that said, everyone be safe with their families. So before I want to get started, I had an opportunity to go along with the Associate Commissioner, Ms. Waller, and also Ms. Powell to the site visits. And so it was an interesting experience going. It kind of brought me back to my humble beginning to see those children and the work that Grantee was doing to help them. And the three things that I saw in that situation was the three successes that I've seen with every grantees. They were committed to the work, they were compassionate to the people they served, and they were connected to their community and the resources that were needed to serve that community. So I thought that community was doing well, and I appreciate the opportunity to go to that site visit. We're going to get started with the FYSB updates. On today's agenda, we want to talk, we're going to share a little bit about, we're going to get the introductions for the program staff, because we had quite many program staff, project officers that have joined over the past several months. I know you're noticing that as you get new projects assigned to your grant. We have opportunity also to talk about and discuss the new division name. They talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we're going to add a little bit more meat to it. We will discuss updates for upcoming anticipated NOFOs and awards. We also will provide an overview and a summary of some of the performance measures data, highlight some of the training and technical assistance support that will be available for you, and provide the much anticipated. We talked about the exchange and the We Think Twice campaign, so you'll get a summary and opportunity to see that website and hear more about that. And then at the end, we'll have opportunity for questions and answers. And we also provide you some resources as well. I'm going to start with the introduction to the program staff. We have our Commissioner, Rebecca Jones-Gaston. You got an opportunity to meet her and to hear from her yesterday. Associate Commissioner Kimberly Waller. You had opportunity to hear from her as well. And Debbie Powell, the Deputy Associate Commissioner. You had opportunity to hear from her as well. So you've heard from them. Now the other part of the team will be first introducing our acting director for the Division of Positive Youth Development is Dr. Risa Matthews. She's also the director of the Division of Data, Performance, and Policy. I'm gonna ask the project officers to stand. Y'all had opportunity to meet with them one-on-one, but some of them are not in their portfolio, so you didn't get opportunity to meet them and to see them. So I'm gonna ask the project officers to stand up as I say their name. We're going to first start with Ricky Richard. Katie Derrick. Megan Hill. Cherie Thompson. Takia Sellers. Shakara Williams. Dara Yaya. Nakia Martin Wright. Catherine Godeski. Sion Borns. Latanya Bisfam Robinson. Now, the next individual, not project officer, but you will hear from him on the stage, Owen Burns, the communication manager. Jamal Smith is our newest addition. He wasn't able to make it to this particular conference, but he should be with us next year. He's our newest person, our executive assistants. You know, one of the things that when I went around to the different PO meetings, and I noticed that each PO had their own flavor to their session. I was over here going to Ricky's one, and it sounded like it was a party going on over there. It was just, I don't know what you were doing over there, but you were. So, and then I was over to Takia's one, and she was just having a little good time going on. Shakara had her thing going on. It all fit their personality, so that was nice and unique. They was a little afraid that they couldn't put their flavor to it, but it was good that they were able to interact and add their uniqueness to the situation. The opportunity to talk a little bit about the division name. Our new division name is, as you've heard, is the Positive Youth Development. Division of the Positive Youth Development. And so this process was a collaborative and a participatory process throughout the FYSB staff, including leadership and also the staff members as well, as we thought about the division name change, this organization change. And so when some of the things that we considered in the new name change, so we thought about how much pregnancy prevention efforts were rooted in positive youth development. And we wanted to also think about the best way to honor the incredible work and the deep, rich history of the APP program and their focus on the positive youth development. We also thought about PrEP and SRAE, you know, their common goal of the positive and healthy outcomes for the youth, and also building healthy life skills and elevating the youth voice and the lived experience that they were having. And this name just kind of resonated to the top for everyone. And so we kind of voted for this one. So it sticks with us, and we're excited for the new name. Hopefully you are as well. It won't have any impact to the work that you're doing. It's just a name change, but we wanted to share that for you. As you look, you may see some things changing and name changes for you. Now here's the opportunity to kind of talk about upcoming NOFOs and awards that we have. And we got a little bit late start on this. But we were able to be successful on the kind of to get it published for these NOFOs. We have the General Departmental SRAE Competitive NOFO. It was published on May 19th. The application due date for this, pay attention to it, is July the 18th of 2023. We want to tentatively looking to have the review sometime in August of 2023, and you will be hearing from us about who were selected sometime in September the 30th. Before that time period, this NOFO, the approximate amount of funds that will be available for this one is $20 million. For the FY23 Title V competitive SRAE, another NOFO that was published on the same date of May 19th. The due dates is still the same with far as the July 18th date. We're planning to have the reviews around the same time for this particular grant as well. And you should hear from us about around September the 3rd, sometime before that, around with whether you're awarded or not. It's about 4.7 million for this particular NOFO. And we also have a competitive competition for prep NOFO for, this one is for New Hampshire only. So we haven't, this one hasn't been published yet. We're hoping to get this published sometime in the near future. And having the reviews around the same time in August and awarding sometime before September the 30th. So, and this one is about $250,000 for this. So stay tuned for that award. Many of you have already completed, hopefully you've completed your non-competing continuation reports because it's very important as relates to funding. It's a funding requirement. So if it's not in, then it will significantly delay any type of funding we're able to process. So now we're working on the awards for the upcoming non-competing continuation. We're hopefully to have those with the effective date of September the 30th out. For the upcoming FY 2024, we will again have the annual state prep and the Title V state SRE process. Of course, the letters of intent will we do in the fall period time. It should be fall winter time in 2023 to process those for their state. For the upcoming anticipated NOFOs that we will have is for 2024 is the Title V state SRAE. Every 2 years, we have to do the state NOFOs. And so we will have a new NOFO that's coming out for the SRAE 1 state Title V. And for the Title V competitive SRE, there will be a NOFO for that in 2024 as well. The general departmental SRAE, there will be NOFO for that one as well in 2024. And the state prep, along with the SRAE, state prep, state SRAE and the state prep, they will have their biannual NOFO awards. And the competitive prep would also have one this year. We know it happens every 3 years. And so this is that year that it will happen for in 2024. Well, now I will transition the rest of the presentation over to Katie Derrick.
Thanks. So Corey gets to talk about like more money and I get to talk about performance measures, everybody's favorite. But I will start by saying thank you to you all for your hard work in collecting performance measures. We recognize that's not always easy, but it's important. Several years ago, back when I was a grantee and not up here on the stage, I attended a really fantastic prep topical training about storytelling. I use storytelling as a grantee often. I used it in grant writing, I used it in stakeholder meetings, and I used it when reporting back to FYSB. This morning, Megan and I are going to be using the 2021-2022 performance measures to share a few parts of the story of the APP program with you. I encourage you all, if you haven't already, I hope you have, to log into your performance measure dashboard, whether it's PrEP or SRAE, and use the valuable information there to help tell the story of your program. All right, let's start with the story outline. For the 2021-2022 year, the total number of youth served was over 10,000 youth higher than the previous reporting period. These youth were primarily served by state prep grantees. So let's give a round of applause for our state prep grantees. During this time, our competitive prep grantees were in a planning period through January, and our tribal prep and Prius grantees were in a planning period for that entire year and not serving youth. We anticipate and are excited to see a continued rise in that number as the 2022-2023 performance measure reporting concludes. Remember, you'll have that portal open in July, and you'll be reporting on the second half of the year. Of note, 80% of youth completed at least 75% of programming, and this is an increase of 7% over last year. This tells us that our programs increase their fidelity and their consistent contact with youth during this reporting period, which is a great thing. All right, so this is going to tell us a little piece of the story of who our prep grantees are serving. Note that these percentages are representative of the youth that responded to the performance measure surveys, not necessarily all 87,059 youth. So the majority of prep participants were high school aged or older, with 12% of those youth being over the age of 17. And as a reminder, per the prep legislation, programs serve through age 19, but pregnant and parenting youth can be up to age 21. During this reporting period, we also saw an increase in programs that served 50% or more of highly vulnerable populations, from 19% in the last reporting period to 22% in 2021-2022. Again, we anticipate that this number will continue to rise as all of our prep grantees are reporting a full year of implementation. Programs serve a more diverse population as well during this reporting period. Notably, the percentage of Hispanic Latino youth rose from 29% in 2020-2021 to 37% during this reporting period. It's a lot of papers and stuff to keep up with. Okay, as you know, prep programs are required to implement at least 3 of the 6 adulthood preparation subjects, or APS. The most commonly implemented APS across all prep grantees were healthy relationships, healthy life skills, and adolescent development. Some grantees implement these APS as part of their program, while others added supplemental programming to ensure that at least 3 of the APS were addressed. I encourage you all to review the APS curriculum assessment tool that's available on the OPRE website, as well as on the Exchange, to assess how your program or curriculum addresses the adulthood preparation subjects. And I'm going to talk about some of the outcomes related to the APS in about one more slide, so maybe 2. All right, so let's talk about the what of our program story. The programs listed here are the 4 most common program models implemented by all prep grantees. Commonly implemented program models do vary by funding stream. So as we continue to see all 4 funding streams from prep report a full year, these might change for next year. All right, the nuts and bolts of it. It's tempting to only tell the story of the successes of your programs, right? That's what we like to do. We talk about our successes. But I also want to encourage you to use your performance measures data to show opportunity for improvement. The goal of prep is to provide education on both abstinence and contraceptives. At program exit, 50% of prep youth indicated that as a result of their program, they were more likely to abstain from sex. This does represent a 6% decrease over the last reporting period. Of those youth who did not plan to abstain, 64% of youth reported they planned to use condoms, and 57% plan to use birth control as a result of their participation in prep programming. Please note that youth could have selected both condoms and birth control. All right, as I mentioned a few slides ago, covering the adulthood preparation subjects is a requirement for all prep grantees. Grantees collected outcome data related to the APS, which is presented here on this slide with a lot of words. So I'll give you a few highlights. So regardless of age, youth answered questions in exit surveys about their intentions related to practicing behavior that promotes adulthood, preparation for adulthood. More than 3/4 of youth said they were much or somewhat more likely to better understand what makes a relationship healthy. This is an increase of 3% over the last reporting period. And over 74% were more likely to resist or say no to pressure to participate in sexual acts. This is an increase from 72% from last year. One of the areas of opportunity that we saw was a decline in the percentage of youth that reported that they were more likely to talk to a parent or guardian about sex. This is down from 45% last year. So I encourage you again to think about those adulthood preparation subjects, use the curriculum assessment tool, and consider some supplemental programming to support conversations with trusted adults. So you can see at the very bottom, the asterisk indicates improvement in outcomes from the previous reporting period. So we've seen some improvements over the last reporting periods in the APS exit survey outcomes, which tells a story of a prep program that's working to support youth and prepare them for the transition to adulthood. We know that the COVID pandemic has impacted our youth in profound ways, but this slide demonstrates that you, our grantees, are supporting and impacting youth as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Megan Hill to share some of the SRAE performance measure data.
Thank you, Katie, and good morning, everyone. Definitely appreciate you framing it as a story because we have to read. We do not want to mess up any of these statistics. So definitely want to make sure that we have these accurate, and we appreciate you all and your efforts that you have made throughout the year in collecting and submitting your performance measures. So looking into the SRAE performance measures for 2021 and 2022, FYSB funded $100 million of SRAE programs for a total of 191 grants. So through the efforts of 517 providers, 638 programs, and 2,180 facilitators, 880,000 youth were served. So the total of youth that were served, 86% of them actually completed at least 75% of the programming. So definitely a shout out to all of you SRAE grantees that are in the building. We appreciate your efforts and we see your hard work. So the number of grantees, providers, and programming has increased from last year into this year. And it's a possibility that the increase is going to be due to the diminished effects of COVID-19 and many of the programs recovering from the pandemic related interruptions that you all have faced. Many of you all have reported that you're going back into the classrooms or back into the community instead of being virtual. So we believe that that is making an impact and seeing the transition. As you can see, the SRAE programs are serving both racially and ethnically diverse population of youth in both middle school as well as high schools throughout the country and the territories, 75% and 49% respectively. Although youth varied in age, those youth who were ages 13 and 14 made up the highest percentage of the participants. Also, please note that some of the participants did not report, and then they were also allowed to select more than one race. Therefore, some of the percentages could be different, as well as not totaling 100%. Some of the commonly used SRAE models include choosing the best, real essentials, making a difference, and Tyro Youth. So with these percentages, They're going to reflect all of the total SRAE programmings across all the state, competitive, as well as general departmental. But for the curricula regarding state grantees, choosing the best is going to be the top curricula for the state grantees. Game plan was the top curricula for the competitive grantees, and then Real Essentials was the top, was the top curricula for general departmental. So from this year to the last year, as we stated, many of the programs have transitioned once again back to in-person and making a difference in the implementation. This slide is going to present information on baseline measures of sexual activity of high school age and older youth only. So for SRAE, 22% of high school age and older youth had never had sex, and very few have been pregnant or gotten someone pregnant or ever had an STI. Some of the reasons why we see lower percentage of sexual activity in SRAE are because the majority of the youth that were served, they were younger. As we saw earlier, majority of the youth, 75%, were middle school age youth. For SRAE, the goal is for youth to avoid non-marital sexual activity at program exit. 49% of high school and older youth reported that as a result of program, they were more likely to abstain from sex, which was an increase from 2% from last year. For the success sequence, all youth, both middle school and high school, answer questions regarding the outcomes. So as you can see, 56% of youth reported that they intended to delay sex until marriage as a result of the program, and between 60 and 63% plan to delay sex until they graduate high school and college as well. And I believe I advanced a little too quickly. I apologize. And so those were those statistics for that slide. I apologize. All right, so here we go. Back on track. This slide is going to show the outcomes related to several topics that the SRA grantees were expected to cover through the SRAE legislation. Over 75% of the youth reported favorable intentions related to healthy relationships, goal setting, as well as sexual coercion. Around 70% reported favorable intentions related to peer pressure and self-regulation. And then just over half of the youth reported intentions to making decisions not to use drugs, including alcohol, vaping, cigarettes, marijuana, as well as prescription drugs. And now Katie will join me to discuss the conclusions that we found.
All right, so again, a lot of numbers for you, and we recognize that's a lot of data. And I encourage you once again to go into your performance measures dashboard where you can access data from your program. So one of the things that we were excited to see is an increase in the number served by prep grantees. We again anticipate and are excited to see more growth in that area as our competitive prep, tribal prep, and Prius grantees move into a full year of implementation.
SRAE has seen a 25% increase in youth participants served from last reporting year to this reporting year of 2020 and 2021 to 21 to 2022.
So we know that our youth are facing a lot of challenges. Our keynote speaker yesterday highlighted some of the challenges around mental health, and that's just one of a myriad of challenges that they're facing. And it's vital that both our prep and SRAE programs recognize those challenges and respond to them. And most importantly, they meet youth where they are and collaborate across agencies and to help improve the health adolescent outcomes.
So once again, we encourage you and we say thank you for always submitting your performance measures, as well as collecting your performance measures. We thank you for continuing to help us tell the story of how we're impacting our nation's youth. And I do ask that you all stand up and give yourselves a big round of applause for all of your efforts that you have done over the course of this year. Your work does not go unnoticed. I also have the opportunity to discuss training and technical assistance as well. So RTI is our training and technical assistance provider for both PrEP and SRAE. In their role, they assist grantees with individual and group TA. They develop and update TNTA resources and materials. They provide training as well as resources. They assist with program management and implementation. They disseminate findings as well as accomplishments, and they also provide ad hoc support. So not only do they provide TA support, they also provide what they call liaison groups as well as office hours. So with the liaison groups, they're going to be the small groups that have been established in efforts to provide more timely and relevant support to grantee. And each of you have been divided up, whether by region or just clusters. Many of you have been divided up into your groups for your liaison groups. Raise your hand if you have participated in a liaison group before with your designated cohort. Awesome, awesome. And so with that, we do encourage you, if you have not had the opportunity to participate in liaison groups, we do encourage you to participate in those. They're going to be a safe space for you to go and meet and converse with one another. It's a community setting for you all to discuss any common needs or common challenges and basically network to see if we have anything that's going on in your state, in your region, that you all can come together and have a space to speak collectively based on your funding stream. And that does occur on both PrEP and SRAE sides. Now, office hours, on the other hand, is going to be more specific. So it'll have a specific topic, but then you'll have, it's kind of like a drop-in session. So raise your hand if you've participated in office hours before. Awesome, great. We do continue, once again, to encourage you to participate in office hours as well. The e-blast will go out with the content-specific information for that particular office hours. They do encourage you to submit questions early. That way they can be addressed within the time frame that you all have for the office hours. Those are things that we encourage you all to do. This opportunity right now, I'm going to take to allow for some participation. Who can tell me, how do you get in contact or request TA, individual TA, if you need help? How do you get individual TA? Shout it out loud. Your project officers, yes. So if you need TA, please, please, please reach out to your project officers. However, those individuals who may have not utilized individual TA, RTI is also providing proactive TA. And so what proactive TA is, it will be those individuals who may have not reached out for TA. They will check in with you to see if you have any concerns or have any needs, and they're going to give you a complimentary TA session based on whatever topic that you have. And so therefore, there are options available. Just know that we're always here to help. I encourage you, if you need TA, please reach out. We encourage you to say something, because we don't know if you don't let us know, okay? So we definitely encourage you to do that. The contact information for RTI is on the screen. App TTA is for PrEP, and then SRAE TTA is for SRAE. And I say thank you. I will turn it over to Owen now to talk about We Think Twice.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. How's everything going? So I'd have to say this is a little bit more intimidating than last year sitting at my computer talking into the webcam in front of 900 people or something, wearing a nice button-down shirt paired with some shorts. So I get the pleasure of talking to everybody about a couple of the websites that the APP program manages. The first one is the We Think Twice website, which is a comprehensive digital media campaign designed with youth and for youth. And what that means is that members of our audience, the teenage crowd, 13 to 19, were an integral part of developing the website from the beginning, still are today. We started engaging teens through our online teen forum, which we now call the We Think Twice Insiders, or WTT Insiders. And this group contributes valuable insights into various aspects of the design, workflow, navigation, and product development. So for a little bit of history, We Think Twice started out in April of 2019, not April, I think July of 2019. A few months later in 2020, we added the website, which with a collection of fun, entertaining, engaging, and what's called in the web development world, sticky content, designed to appeal to our audience of teens. And we've been building on the depth of that content ever since, including a set of adolescent development products that I'll talk about in a little bit. So just a little bit of a quiz, make sure everybody's awake. I hope you all got coffee or OJ, something along those lines. I mentioned that we started out our campaign on social media. So I'm curious, does anybody here know as a percentage how much, sorry, wait, I'm going the wrong way. There, we got that. Okay, here we go. Does anyone know how much larger our audience has grown, our Instagram follower audience has grown since the first virtual APP conference in June of 2020, as a percentage? Little hint, the answer is in the last edition of the APP Connect newsletter. So a little shameless plug, tie everything together. If you have any idea, just give a shout or just a guess. I hear 40, 65, 20, we're going the wrong way. How's this? 607. So that's really good performance. If you read that newsletter, you'd also have a little bit of fun. So, like I said, it's not Kardashian or celebrity type growth, but given our audience is very specific, we think that's great. So next, I want to talk about how the campaign is doing. Keep going the wrong direction. Here we go. So we started out again on Instagram. In the last year, the We Think Twice campaign has delivered 4.4 million impressions and a tremendous engagement rate of 3 times the industry average engagement rate. And what that means is that our Instagram not followers, but our Instagram visitors don't only just come to the page and scan things and move on. They interact with us. They give us a comment. They share it. They like it. The little chart on the right there shows you the growth of our Instagram followers over the last year. Website. We also have, throughout the course of the campaign for both of these media, social as well as on the web, constant uphill growth. We know what our audience is, and primarily, largely what they do there. Our visitors are all between the ages of 13 and 24. And as a matter of fact, I think 96% of them are between the ages of 13 and 17. We know that they all, 99.2%, visit us from their mobile device. So you see on the slide there, 71% female, and where our, I think it's 5 most popular states are. So how does the We Think Twice campaign attract its audience and keep them engaged? One of the things that I want to encourage here today is to pull out your phone. You can use the QR code that's on the screen there, or type in the URL wethinktwice.org. And we're going to take a look at some of the more popular content. If you want to go to the Instagram page, do that as well. Some of them our most popular content over the last 12, 18 months has been through the contest that the We Think Twice campaign has run. Not only has that brought us a lot of engagement and exposure, but it's also driven up our follower base. Some of the other topics follow along with topics that are relative to the APP program, like, sorry, I'm getting lost here. Yes, I can. There we go. So, as I mentioned, contests drive a lot of traffic. Different topics relative to APP programming also gain a lot of topics. We have health observances, healthy relationships, financial literacy, things like that. All content relative to what you guys do in your daily programming. I also mentioned the website and the content that we have there. The chart on the bottom shows our top 5 most visited web pages, and the arrow points to what our homepage address is. And this is interesting and tells us a lot about how the website's performing. Usually the homepage of a website is one of the most visited, and in our case, it's 3rd. That tells us that our outreach efforts to reach and attract audiences to the website are working. Whether it's paid or organic social media, search engine marketing, and we even get a smattering of visits from Google Classroom telling us that this is being used in the classroom as well. So the We Think Twice campaign has won quite a number of awards from the likes of the organizations like the American Public Health Association, the Association of Government Communicators, Digital Health Awards, and others. The last bullet there with this asterisk by it is the most recent win. I believe that was from November of 2022. So we're pretty proud of that record. So what is the role that APP grantees can play in the We Think Twice campaign? It's pretty simple. Pass it on. We designed this campaign to attract, to speak to youth in that 13 to 19 age group. As you guys receive emails about product releases and different news about the We Think Twice campaign, we encourage you to let your youth know. Ask them to visit the website, become an Instagram follower, visit us on Facebook. They have an opportunity to contribute and become part of that WTT Insider audience through the website as well. So the overall message is, let them know, pass it on. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Exchange. The Exchange is APP's digital hub for information relative to your program. Also available on desktop or mobile. I don't know if folks that have visited the website were 100% aware of that, but you not only can you visit it on your desktop computer, but you can also use your mobile device. So if you're out at a site visit or something like that, and something hits you, can I find anything like this on the Exchange? You can do so on your mobile device. Again, take your phones, visit the website. The QR code there actually takes you to a 2nd level page within the site, but it'll get you there. So the 2 most popular pages on the Exchange are the resource gallery, which is the page that our graphic here shows you. You'll notice the filtering capability that's on the left helps you drive down deeper into the site. The navigation list that's dropped down is representative of the private side of the Exchange. There's the website is obviously available to the general public at their want, but there's also about 20% of content on the exchange that is reserved, we'll call it, behind the private side of the site. You need to log in to get to it. And some of that content are the different conference web pages that you see there. The second most popular page is our events page, basically a calendar listing things like the Grantee conference we're at today, office hours that Megan mentioned, health observances, things like that. So next, I want to tell you about some of the things that are in that private section and on the web overall, on the exchange overall. We're adding some new content coming up. One of the things is a new help center for grantees. Two main purposes. One, if you're a new grantee, the help center will give you easy access to a central location where you can find some of the sort of basic and foundational elements and information about your grant. It's all, there's turnover in grantee staff just like there is in ours. And so it's a good resource for new staff to get acquainted with their grantee or with their grants. If you haven't logged on to the exchange, or if you don't have an account to get into that private section, once you just let your primary point of contact on your grant know that you'd like to get an account, and through their login page, they can do that. If you need some help with that, hunt down one of the program officers or an RTI, one of the RTI staff, and we can help you do that. There's also a new social media shareables tool, which is going to be added to the studio soon. This allows you to create a graphic that you can use on social media. Pretty easy to do. Once you log in, go to that studio, the studio link on the main nav. You're going to select social media shareables. You'll be able to pick a style, either a photo or a solid color with some patterns. You'll be able to pick a message, add your logo. Voila, you've got a ready-made downloadable graphic for Instagram, Facebook. And if you notice, the grantee's logo is in that lower right-hand corner there. So I mentioned adolescent development products before. We've got a few that are up and available now, including the Health Equity Toolkit, prioritizing youth mental health. There's a few facilitator guides that are there as well. We're also adding several new facilitator guides, or plug and play activities, we call them. And Ricky will be excited. Well, Ricky is excited and has let me know that the season 2 of the Elevate Youth Programming podcast is going to be added soon as well. There's also, at present, there's, about to be, resources for parents, supporting your teen's mental health, a tip sheet for parents. That's going to be added to the website soon. And I'm sure we'll have some additional parent content coming not too long after that. So this last slide here will give everybody an idea of kind of the gravity or the volume of what we have on the exchange. What you're seeing is a little Star Wars style credits of about 100 of the most recent titles that we've added to the exchange. This is less than half of what's available there, but it gives you an idea of, I don't want to say volume, but I'll say it volume, and just what you can get. So it was quick. That means you're going to have to go on the exchange to find more. So this is a question slide, but I'm going to skip by it for just a quick second. There are a few slides here that are kind of an appendix. So we have a listing of contractor support you can find. There's also key websites with the URL spelled out. So if you're wondering, how do you find the PLESD site, get there, and then some resources as well. So that is all of the presentation portion of the FYSB updates. I think we have some time for questions. So if you guys want to come on up here, and if anybody has any questions, there's some mics up front. If you prefer, just shout it out. Pardon me? The slide with the contacts, yes. There we go. There you go. You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a way that we could see some data around comparison between online versus the in-person for the data? Because we saw, like I'm looking at programming to see if I want to transition to in-person, because some are doing, online programming or curriculum. So is there any data? I think that'd be very useful for me to see some data around that, if it's possible. If not, totally cool, but.
When the full report comes out, it will have some of that data in there as well. And so you can also follow up with your project officer to see if they can kind of pull that. There may be some information on the dashboard that we can pull as well. But when the full report comes out, then we'll have more conclusive as well. And then I will turn it over and see if Katie has anything to add.
The only thing I would add is, again, use your project officer as a support in that. Talk to them if they know of other grantees that are doing both virtual and in person, because then you might be able to connect with them and have them share their data specifically. Because if a grantee is implementing in 2 different program settings, they have that broken down on their own dashboard.
2 questions. Would the slides from this morning be shared? Because they're not available on the app. Maybe that's a dumb question. And how were youth engaged in the We Think Twice campaign in order to create it?
Yes, the slides will be available. Once as a matter of fact, plug for the exchange again. We'll add the 2023 conference page to that navigation when you're logged in, and you'll be able to find them there. Youth were engaged on the We Think Twice campaign in the beginning, as I said, through that online teen forum. We use a website called community or cmnty.com. RTI, feel free to jump up and correct me if I stray here. Through that website, they were engaged in different activities to gauge and inquire what their preferences were. Let's say it that way. It might have been journaling, it might have been focus groups, it might have been interviews and conversations, phone calls, to get an idea of, as I said, what products content would most be the most desired by that audience of 13 to 19-year-olds. They advised on the navigation for the site, the design. That's not the only input that we take. Obviously, there's considerations for developers and how the web works, and what's also logical content. Everybody's got a dream. But you have to sort of make some reality out of it. So that's in a nutshell how we did it. Meredith, would you like to add to this?
We also got input from from the grantees. I think in the earliest days, we had some focus groups with your youth. And so we really value your input in helping us get that started.
I want to add one thing. We did have a question from a grantee who was asking, how can they refer youth? So can you go through that as well?
Sure. On the We Think Twice website, I can put that QR code back up, but it's an easy URL, wethinktwice.org. There is a link called, what is the link, Meredith? I can't remember. Anyone RTI. It's the 3rd link over on the website. I think it's, yeah, I think, let's see if we can get it. Give me a second. Get involved. So you can go on the We Think Twice website, or those youth go on the We Think Twice website, hit that Get Involved tab. There's a sign out, a little description about what it is, how you can join, what you can contribute. There are, there is a program for your activity that awards you points and allows you to join, fill out an application through that CMNTY site. I will note that it does require that any youth below the age of 18 not only, apply and agree, but their parents have to provide consent as well. Okay.
Yes, I wondered if there are any plans for We Think Twice swag. I know we've seen the lamps and this, but would we as grantees also be able to order it so we could give it out to the students?
The short answer from me, the advertising and marketing guy, is yes, of course. But that's not the official answer. I think it's close to it. We're definitely taking a look at that. As a matter of fact, you may have noticed on some of our slides, the little trademark symbol after the We Think Twice name. We're in the process of trademarking it. which part of that process is to identify a number of items of different things you want to trademark. And so in the next, period of time, I won't define it. We do think that there'll be opportunity to produce things like that. As far as grantees, developing or not developing, but producing those on their own. What I would recommend is probably contact your PO so that we can, ask that question uphill and get an answer for you.
Well, I meant us ordering from We Think Twice.
I gotcha. And I don't know the logistics of that at the moment. There's a lot of considerations, I think, probably contractual things like that, but we, it's certainly something we've talked about. We just don't, with all the, I'm not going to say the PAN word, tried to avoid that all these last 3 days. Corey said it earlier. We haven't had a lot of opportunity to produce those things, but that's changing as things change with the P word.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for the presentation. So my question, I know that performance measures in order to collect data, and we saw that the results that you showed on the screen, but I think also that comprehension of the survey questions are also important. And I know that for some of the students that we've served in the classrooms, they've been finding it very challenging to understand the questions on the surveys. I am more likely to not likely to always be likely to not do this. And they always have questions. It's the survey questions are confusing. Is there any talk about possibly changing those survey questions to make them more comprehensible for the students?
All right, so we knew this question was coming. It comes often. And again, as a former grantee, I understand and I remember, and now as a federal staff, I understand what goes into getting the performance measures tested and approved. So the short answer is not soon, but the long answer is we're always working to be aware of the reading level and the comprehension of youth. We know that that has dropped through the pandemic. So we are aware of the challenges and long-term working on that. Is that right, Karen? I see you out there.
So thank you very much for sharing that information. And I assume by the applause, that means that a lot of you are impacted by that. So one of the things that we will look into is the opportunity to make sure that we are looking at changes. We really appreciate your sending in any input through your federal project officer. As Katie mentioned, we typically look at the readability of the questions for the performance measures. However, as many of you know, these are OMB cleared. So even once we make the changes, we do have to go through the OMB process through the Paperwork Reduction Act to make sure we get that clearance before we can release it. So it will take some time, but we also encourage you to send feedback about the performance measures and what your thoughts are and recommendations in terms of reducing the readability level, and share that with your federal project officer. But really, thank you for sharing that, because I'm a data person, so I totally understand and really appreciate the comment as well as the applause to indicate the issues with it.
Thank you so much for your response. Will the PMMS reports ever line up with the fiscal year?
Karen?
All of you are smiling. That's awesome.
What I will say is I recognize that is that our different reports don't always align. We have a lot of different reporting and they don't align. And some of that has to do with contractual with our contracts. Karen, you were standing up. Do you have more to add to that? They don't align with the grant year. So our grant year runs September 30th and our reporting runs through June 30th. Can someone get a mic? Oh, yeah. Risa might be able to address that, Karen, as well.
So One of the reasons we have it in the middle of summer is to give you all the opportunity to look over the data, to be able to submit it, not in the middle of the school year. But if that's your preference, we can look to see how we can make some changes to the timeline. Because I think what we heard based on your responses is the opportunity to get some time after school is out of session. So I think some of them are due in July. So that gives you the opportunity to do the work that you need to do with your data while school's not in session.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Blitz from the Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation. I'm the lead for performance measures, so I'm probably the person you love to hate. But of course, I work in partnership with FYSB. One of the reasons, first of all, that the reporting or the submission is twice a year is it follows the school year. So January through June, and then July through December. Usually schools are on a semester basis, and the whole idea was so that people could use the data for continuous quality improvement of their program for any mid-course corrections. Because if you get the data at the end of the year, you can't do anything in the middle of the year. That was the thinking, and that was quite some time ago. And then you're talking about like the October through
No,
no.
I think
Okay.
that addresses it. Does
Okay.
that address your question?
Would I be able to talk with you offline?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Risa.
Good morning. Back to the performance measure question. I was wondering if there was any consideration to waive the entry and exit surveys for fifth graders and possibly sixth graders. We do have teachers that say the content is possibly sexualizing the children, which is certainly not the objective. And also they don't understand the questions.
So we do have a performance measure waiver process that you can initiate with your federal project officer, and there are some considerations for age for that. So please reach out to your federal project officer to discuss performance measure waivers, but we don't do any blanket waive of surveys. This has to be, we do that on a case-by-case basis with grantees. So it looks like we are out of time. And yes.
So I think, I appreciate the question on performance measures waivers. I know that we've had several come in. I think the one I would say that's blanket is when we serve youth with disabilities, because we do collect the demographic data for those youth. But one of the reasons why we collect all of the data from all of the youth, it's part of our notice of funding opportunity. It's a requirement. So we really encourage you to provide feedback in the event that you want us to look at some of the readability opportunities for youth who are younger. And so we're willing to take that feedback. But as I mentioned, it's not an immediate change. We do have to get all of the changes to our performance measures cleared through the Office of Management and Budget as part of our Paperwork Reduction Act.
Thank you, Risa.
So we'll be transitioning at this time. This is the break, and we transition into the next session. But feel free, as you see us throughout the conference, to pull us aside and ask us some more questions.
Thank you, everybody.